The Mutava Musyimi-led Presidential Task Force on the review of the legal and regulatory framework governing religious organizations is formally calling on Kenyans to give their views during a public participation exercise set to begin next week on Tuesday. In a detailed schedule, the task force will conduct county-based citizen engagement meetings as well as receive hand-delivered or online submissions.
The government's effort to regulate the operations of religious organizations, with Kenyans said to give their views to the Presidential Task Force chaired by former MP Mutava Musyimi. Interior Cabinet Secretary Kithure Kindiki yesterday announced that the task force will commence its sittings immediately and ask Kenyans to offer their views on the way forward. He urged the task force to talk to the church and all stakeholders to come up with regulations on registration of churches.
I want to request the people of Kirinyaga, the people of Kenya, to come out and speak openly and candidly on what you'd want us to do as government, what we need to strengthen in terms of policies, laws, procedures, to make sure that a few people hiding behind the Bible and the Holy Scriptures of God do not misuse the constitutional right to the freedom of worship.
Kindiki, who was speaking when he attended a church service at Kenya Assemblies of God in Sagana, Kirinyaga County, said that the government will do whatever it can to ensure that never again will the kind of tragedy that occurred at Shakahola ever happen again.
And I want to stand before you, brothers and sisters, fellow Kenyans, and the entire world. I stand before you and before God to promise you that this government will do whatever it takes, will do whatever it needs to be done to make sure that never again do we have the kind of damage that we got at Shakahola Forest.
President William Ruto on May 5th appointed the task force chaired by former Mbeere South MP Mutava Musyimi to review the legal and regulatory framework governing religious organizations.
We want to provide a framework agreed with our religious leaders, a framework that will provide for self-regulation so that church, so that religion, so that our spiritual leaders can have a mechanism where they can point out to government those who want to abuse religion for other purposes.
Explaining the decision to form the task force, Ruto lamented that they indicated that the Shakahola dates had opened a lead on the need to regulate religious institutions. In a Gazette notice, Ruto appointed Musyimi to lead the task force, whose mandate will run for 6 months. The mandate of the task force includes identifying gaps in proposed legal and governance changes to prevent religious extremism. The task force will also propose standards to be used to issue certificates to various religious organizations in the country. Kindiki warned that the government will not back down on its resolve to weed out all rogue preachers who are using the Holy Scriptures to mislead, ridiculize, and indoctrinate their followers.
Kwa sababu muuaji hana dini, muuaji hana kabila, muhalifu ni muhalifu. Akijificha kwa Waislamu, tutamfichua pale. Akijificha kwa Ukristo, tutamtoa pale. Akijiweka katika dini za kitamaduni, tutamtoa pale. And the way we have succeeded in the fight against terror and Islamic extremism, we will also succeed in those who misuse the Holy Scriptures and the Word of God and the empowering gospel of Jesus Christ to commit murders, to commit atrocities like what we have seen down in Shakahola.
Church leaders are opposed to President Ruto's move to gazette the task force, terming it as a knee-jerk reaction to the Shakahola massacre. The Anglican Church of Kenya, led by Archbishop Jackson Ole Sapit, said it will support any regulation aimed at stemming the proliferation of cultic practices in the church, but insisted that such a law must promote religious freedoms for all citizens. Meanwhile, the third phase of the exhumation of bodies at Shakahola Forest kicks off today, targeting 22 new mass graves that could contain several bodies. The exhumation process was on a 14-day break to allow pathologists to conduct a post-mortem assessment on the 129 bodies that had been exhumed earlier. The Interior Ministry maintained that the search and rescue efforts in the expansive Shakahola Forest will continue uninterrupted, with the multi-agency security team on the ground supported by aerial surveillance. For Maisha Prime, Maisha Television, my name is Mary Magdalene Nekesa.